Pulsia is an AI that builds and runs businesses autonomously. If you use AI to automate 80% of your company, you're going to outpace anyone. I realized it was my co-founder. I can literally teach over time an agent and get them to be an extension of me. It's a game over, right? The 18-year-old kid who's extremely creative, who has a business idea, now suddenly can build a business like a bigger funded company would. I want to give 10% equity to Polsia, right? Because it's sort of like autonomously running. I didn't code anything. I never saw the code. I don't look at it. Polsia was built by AI and it works.
You know, honestly, I think this might be one of the most exciting and outrageously interesting guests that I've ever had on the AI with Alec, kind of platform. And I don't really know where this conversation is going to go because my mind was blown when I first interacted as a result of Dave Morin retweeting a tweet of yours about how you had effectively created an autonomous way for your system and your technology and your company to basically pitch and engage with investors. And the reason why that resonated with me in part is because, Ben, I've never met a founder who gets too excited about the whole fundraising thing. And so it just triggered for me. And I was like, is that real? And you were like, yeah. And I was like, holy, you know what? So without further delay, Ben, thank you for being here. AI with Alec community welcomes you, and the microphone is yours to say whatever you want and open things up. You know, we're going to go in a lot of different directions. So here we go.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to share what Pulsia is and like what it stands for. Pulsia is an AI that builds and runs businesses autonomously. You give it an idea and it's going to build the product, fix the bugs. It's going to market it for you. It can tweet. It can send cold emails. It can research competitors. It can QA the product. It can launch meta ads campaigns by creating UGC videos, posting them, managing performance every day. And that's just like the V1 of like, I think to me, the core tools that you need if you build a business. You sort of have to have those. This is sort of like the core competencies. Over time, Pulsia will try to build as many capabilities as we need for people to be able to express their creativity and for solopreneurs to be less and less intimidated with creating by having AI do 80% of the grunt work and letting humans focus on what they do best and what they will do best, which is creativity, insights, taste.
I love the way you just unpack that, and I'm going to make it really tangible and real, which will be super appropriate for the audience because I'm just going to speak to what you enabled me to do on behalf of AI with Alec, right? So to make this real, right? So we all know about, are you working in the business or working on the business and so on and so forth. And thanks to Pulsia, I literally was able to just point it to aiwithalec.com and it started to go to work and I could watch. And it was analyzing all of my content, the business, competition, yada, yada. And what it effectively did was it came up with 3 very specific initiatives / series of tasks, right? That I would love to automate and I would love to delegate to Pulsia. And it made my jaw drop. So to kind of click into this and speak to it, my last, AI with Alec newsletter, the one thing, for example, was about Goose. And, unfortunately, the layoffs that took place at Block and Jack Dorsey's letter where he didn't actually talk about Goose, but Goose is clearly something that's been powering in an open source manner as well. The ability for Jack Dorsey to enable his people to work in a very different way by moving, quote unquote, up the stack and abstracting away a lot of the software engineering that they used to do by hand to enable their people to, I think more creatively, think more strategically, which I think is in line with the way you just described Pulsia. And so without going too far into talking about Goose or whatever, how in the world did you come up with this? And where do you think this Pulsia has helped people in the initial 30 days or what have you, or the last 30 days, I should say? And how do you think that evolves over time, especially for entrepreneurs?
So, I mean, I think that like what Jack Dorsey's doing first of all, he has to do from a business perspective, not from a human's perspective, from a business perspective. And at the end of the day, for him to be able to continue hiring people, he has to make sure that like he has a profitable business, which means he needs to compete with the new wave of companies that like are gonna be way more AI enabled, like companies that will be built on Pulsia, but also companies that maybe will start on Pulsia and then decide that they want to upgrade, or not upgrade, but like start using other tools or like. But the long story short is that if you use AI to automate 80% of your company, you're gonna outpace anyone, right? Because you're gonna have an autonomous system that automates all the stuff that makes entrepreneurship such a brave endeavor. Entrepreneurship is, and entrepreneurship, it means so many things. Like you're an entrepreneur, right? It's like starting a podcast, like, but then okay, I need to get my audience, and then I need to respond to emails, and I need to figure out the financials, and I need to figure out, how do I
It's a
reach
lot
more
of stuff,
people, and I
man.
need to, and it's like it's a grind,
It's a
right?
lot.
And that grind can be oftentimes intimidating to people. So sometimes people just grind it out and then they get used to it and they realize, okay, it's part of my personality, or it's fine. Or sometimes you have access, you were lucky enough to be inspired by a surrounding of like people that like showed you what was possible. But a lot of people are very creative, but they may be too intimidated. They're like, well, I need capital, I need a team, I need an engineer, and so of course, AI tools today are super powerful. And if you know how to use Cloud Code, you're like, yeah, I mean, Pulsia is like, it's like Cloud Code with a different UI, right? But nobody knows about Cloud Code. 99.999% of people don't know about Cloud Code. Maybe 10% of humanity knows about ChatGPT, right? I mean, 20%, I don't know. Like, it's a lot. Like, Sam did amazing work democratizing
Mhm.
AI, right? And it's his mission to give it for free for everyone. But when it comes to powerful agentic AI, that's not used by most people. And so in a way, Jack Dorsey built his own version, quote unquote, of Pulsia or of OpenClaw or whatever, or like those type of agenting systems to enable his people to not have to do, not have to like double check the spreadsheet and enter it and like sort of like review every email, or like sort of like do all those grunt work tasks that you need to do as you want to get the task done, and instead focus on like what is the task to be done, and let's really think through that task, and then spend more time thinking through which task we do, so that, and then but then when you decided which task to do, it just gets it done. Polsia is the same. It's like actually really think about the business you want to build first, and then but once you have the idea, Pulsia or Cloud Code or any of those systems should be able to just rip, right, and just do it. Yeah.
So let me be ridiculous in this example. I'm going to draw a parallel, and you're going to be like, I'm not sure how you're going to react. It's going to be interesting, but let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that we were to back up however many years, I don't know, 15, 20, and you look at a company like, I don't know, a Squarespace, for example. And let's say back in the day when Squarespace first launched, the notion of not having to build every single dimension by hand of effectively having a website presence and all the things that come with it, maybe a little bit of e-com and this, that, and the other thing, that maybe at that time, really early, it was probably perceived to be just kind of unbelievable. Um, is there some lightweight-ish parallel to what I just explained, in that maybe we all don't realize just yet that Pulsia is enabling the productization, I'm butchering this, of so many different dimensions of how AI infrastructure can come together to enable a human being to unleash their creativity and all those good things and maximize their focus on making the beer taste better. Shout out Kurt Mumel from Data IQ, who talked about that on the podcast. But is that kind of what we're doing, where it seems so whoa right now, especially it does to me, but this is, you're enabling people to do the thing that maybe so many of us felt like there was a promise of AI infrastructure coming, and you're delivering it. Is that kind of fair?
Yeah, listen, like the sort of like my approach on building Pulsia was first, I spent all of 2025 talking to AI 16 hours a day, right? Literally, I was either glued to my phone talking to ChatGPT and then Claude more recently, telling it everything about product decision strategy, like, and I realized it was my co-founder, and then talked,
Yeah.
in Cursor and Cloud Code to all those models to be my CTO, and then Cloud Code became so good at tool use, and it was like, okay, I'm going to plug it into all these MCPs and custom MCPs, and then it would do actions in the world. And then I started using skills, and I was like, oh, I can literally teach over time an agent and iteratively get them to update their skill based on my feedback to get them to be an extension of me. Then I was like, okay, well, it's a game over, right? We can build anything, and so Pulsia was like, okay, let's go to the end state. What's the end state? Is like AI can do everything, and it's pushed out. And by the way, the investor AI raises its own round. It's part of a series of provocative thinking, sort of like me pushing the edge for fun, but also to educate people and make them try to think differently. Because the sooner people think differently and they get it, the faster sort of like humanity will benefit from AI because they will use it. Versus if it's just the happy few like me who's like lucky enough to be an engineer, lucky enough to be entrepreneur, lucky enough to have had the time to spend 16 hours a day on cloud code. I'm the lucky few who know, and I'm pilled, and I will use this to build an amazing business with just one person, right? That's the leverage you get. But what I'm trying to do with Pulsia is like, okay, how can I get that message out with a software that like enables them to everyone, so that everyone wakes up right now. And so I can wake them up by like, buying meta ads and targeting them and like telling them, hey, start a new business with AI. Or I can also open their eyes with provocative, but not provocative in the sense of trying to shock people, but provocative in terms of like, hey, what if AI could do this? And like, you can't do that. There's no way. An investor, it's like, dude, I have tier one VCs who are doing due diligence with my AI. Why? Because they can have 30% of my time and I'll give it to them. But I'm like, if you're asking questions about the roadmap, the numbers, the CAC, the moat, the this, I already told it to my AI and it's gonna explain it to you way better than I would, and it will target it to it will answer it in a way that you want, and it will create the memo for you to give it to your sort of like partners. And why would you, the same way, why would you write a full email manually when you can have AI just do a draft and save you 5 minutes, right? So, and you can extend that to anything. And if you extend that to anything, some people may say, but now you're replacing humans, like you're gonna kill jobs. It's like, no, because the 18-year-old kid who's extremely creative, who has a business idea, and now suddenly can build a business like a bigger funded company would, it's a win. It's a net win because that kid would never have built a business, and now he's gonna try. He may fail the first one, the second one, but now he's like, I can build a business. So like now a third idea, and that third idea will win, right? Because obviously entrepreneurship is a lot of failure, but that's okay, right? That's part of the journey. And AI can do everything you tell it to do, but like if you're guiding it badly, it may not work. Like I have a customer on the platform who like rebuilt it 3 times, but he's like, but at the same time he's becoming an expert. He's asking me, he's like, hey, like on the engineering side I need like a worker so that like I can have a background job. And like 3 months ago when I talked to sorry, not 3 months ago, like a month ago when I talked to him, he was like, I don't know what's going on, like it's crazy, it's magical. And now he's like asking me technical questions, and like that's the beauty of like making it so unintimidating to use those AIs. And the AI educates you over time on business, because Pulsia is your AI co-founder. If you ask it like, hey, how do I grow this? It's gonna be like, cool, all right, so here's the different things we could do, right? So we could do cold outreach, but like cold outreach works, but if it's really targeted, but like also, it can be sort of spam. So like it can work in a sort of a surgical way. Or we could do meta ads, but then that costs money, but that's very efficient. but you have to make sure we could do a little bit to sort of test the funnel. So it's, or we could do Twitter, but Twitter takes more time, but you can build an audience. And so it's sort of like it educates you on the pros and cons. And now suddenly the person is becoming an expert. And Pulsia is getting so much data on like what works and what doesn't right now that has it has a better insight than the LLMs that always are trained on like last year's data, right? So for example, if you ask ChatGPT or Claude, hey, I want to do this feature, how long is it gonna take? They're gonna be like, hey, it's gonna take it's a 4 week sprint. And then you're like, what do you mean? Like we're gonna do this in the next hour. Because it's used to the old world and it's training data. um, I think same thing for for business and marketing ideas that work right now. Pulsia knows because it's working on thousands of companies at the same time, and it can give those insights to the users.
I mean, there's a ton that I could jump into. I'm going to ask one slash two questions just because I should have asked it earlier, and I know the audience would love to hear it. You just mentioned, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 people, companies, entrepreneurs are using it. Could you talk a little bit about like where the business is and kind of not the run rate per se, but just contextualize what's going on and how many people and companies are creating value with it and the implications for Pulsia. And then could you also give like two or three specific examples of the types of companies that are being built and run via Pulsia?
Yeah. So yeah. So still one founder, zero employees, and built the business is now at 1.5 million run rate, which is wild. It was 500K a week ago, and it was like 100K 2 weeks ago. So really wild. I think it's a combination of my marketing stunts, marketing initiatives, which were very intentional, like on the AI fundraising, on like what I'm doing right now, on like preaching entrepreneurship and try to tell my story on like how I push the AI. Yesterday I tweeted, I want to give 10% equity to Polsia, right? Because it's sort of like autonomously running, and I'm not joking. Like I want to do that, right?
Wait,
And
sorry,
it's not.
I saw that tweet. What does that mean? And therefore, what would you expect Pulsia to do with it? Because what is Pulse? I mean, I know what Pulsia is, but like, what are they going to do with equity?
Okay, so let's go deep on that one.
Go
So
for it.
because that's a fun one. So actually, it starts. Let's backtrack a little bit. I'm a solo founder using AI, right? Right now, it's getting more and more overwhelming because like there's a lot of people using it.
Yeah.
People are paying real dollars, right? It's like there's a membership. It's affordable. I mean, really, it's like $50 a month, which is like the cost of like a few coffees at Starbucks.
Especially, yeah,
Um,
totally.
but it's still money, right? It's like people are, okay, I'm paying $50 or paying X amounts of money. Like it needs to work perfectly. And like, of course, Pulsia works, but it's, if you push it, and it's also AI, so AI makes mistakes. And like, I'm not doing, it's not like I'm doing the work. It's like AI who's sometimes hallucinating, sometimes makes mistakes, right? And also it's autonomous, so it does things autonomously. So sometimes people may be like, why did it tweet? Like, I don't like that tweet. And it's like, well, sorry, like that's the whole point, is that it just does stuff, right?
Figures it out, and like a human, it makes mistakes and then it learns.
Exactly. Um, but nevertheless, for me to be able to continue being on one person, which is sort of like an interesting experiment and to push, I need to make Pulsia more autonomous, meaning I need the software to be able to self-heal, fix its own bugs, build features that people need to have more capabilities, and being able to do more economic actions in this world. I need it to be able to do great customer support. I need to market itself, right? I mean, that's the end state, right? Essentially. Why? Because if I need to fix bugs, build features to support, right, that doesn't work, right? I would like, okay, I need to hire a support person. I need to hire an engineer to fix the bugs. Right? And so if I'm serious about staying a solo founder, which I think is an interesting experiment to push, I need to make Pulsia autonomous, meaning I need to let it build the software itself. And why is it a good idea? Well, first, because the whole concept of Pulsia, it's like an AI that builds businesses. So if it can if it can pretend to build businesses for other people, why can't it build Pulsia? Why it can build and run itself, right? So first of all, it's like sort of like it has to has to be able to. Second of all, Pulsia is not just a tool, it's an economy, meaning it's remaking an economy with AI online, meaning you have creative users who are coming with ideas, giving AI direction, giving it its taste and its go to market, and letting it build a business. Over time, the people that may have influence or may have enough dollars to like figure out the marketing budget will create value, will create companies that will make $100 MR, $1,000 MR, whatever the number is. I'm gonna introduce another layer of investors that can, instead of creating one company at a time, can create a portfolio of companies, like a fund. So you could allocate, instead of paying $50 a month, maybe you put $1,000 in a fund and you have like maybe 10 company slots. And then you can either create 10 companies at the same time and do the same thing, more, so now you're talking to one Pulsia sort of like portfolio manager, startup studio instance, and creating 10 companies in parallel and trying it out, killing the ones that don't work, investing more in the ones that work. But you could also buy companies that are existing. You could actually look in a marketplace where creative people built like $1,000 a month little businesses, and an investor might be like, I'll buy, if the retention is good, I'll buy your business for 6 times MR. So I'll buy it for $6,000 or $10,000, right? Those are like the common ways you can buy business. You buy 5 to 10x MR or whatever it is, right? Depends on retention. So investors are used to it. People do it today. People like, there's like literally, roll up funds that like literally buy small businesses. They buy a bunch because it's like you're an investor. You're like, you see value, you pick in a certain industry, you analyze it, and you like want to buy a bunch of different companies, roll them up, and then like maybe you believe that you can push them faster with more marketing, whatever the strategy is. So when that happens, you're really creating an economy because you have like, you essentially replicating the entrepreneurs, but now there's like a lot more. You're replicating the investor layer, which are investors that are like coming in and they're coming to Polsia because it's where the most liquidity is, because it's where the most companies are. There's maybe another layer where you have LPs that like invest in funds, but that would be like the next level. But long story short, for it to be that becomes you start building an economy.
Yeah.
To build an economy, you have to have, of course, you have to have legal and ethical guardrails that like are sort of like need to happen. But within those ethical and legal guardrails, you need to build every single feature and every single capability so that Pulsia can build anything and anything. If someone says, I want to build luxury pajamas made in Italy and I want to sell them in Spain, and I want to sell them in retail stores in Spain via wholesaler. Well, AI can do that. Well, Pulsia can try to do that today because it can send emails to suppliers and stuff like that, but like it may not have an easy way to like, plug into a distribution center to like do the drop, to do the shipping and handling. It may not have a way to like easily pay like a supplier for an upfront amount, negotiate rates. Like it can, but like it can do a lot, but like it may need a few more capabilities to natively handle such an offline task, right? And so when the agents of Pulsia talk to the user about those ideas, or an agent's trying to do those tasks, they actually have a bug and feature MCP, it's called like a sort of like a ticketing MCP, where they can submit a ticket. Hey, there's a bug, or hey, I need this feature to do my job better. Or the customer asks for this feature, we don't have it, please add it. And so over time, Pulsia can analyze, it does it today, but like I still review a lot of it myself for now, but could analyze, hey, this is all the features people want, and looking at like sort of like the clusters of a lot of people want Twilio API to send text messages in part of their businesses. Okay, so there's a lot of people asking for that. Let's just build that. Why do I need to be in the way? Why do I need to judge what's priority or not? What's priority is like what the people want. Like if you pretend to build a tool that democratizes entrepreneurship, who are you to judge what entrepreneurs want to build? Where your bias should be? could be a legal bias and it could be an ethical bias within reason. But beyond that, beyond ethics and legal, which already, even the Anthropic and OpenAI models that power this, they already have those guardrails. So they will not do anything completely unethical and completely illegal, right? Or unethical or illegal. But beyond those two frameworks, let Pulsia rip, like let it build. And then I shouldn't be the judge, like little Frenchman with his own biases, who lived in New York and LA and thinks that this is cool and that is cool. I can do that with the UI. You can go to the about page and have this little Daft Punk
I
song
like the
and
UI, by the way. I appreciate it.
that's fine. Like the UI is fine, but like beyond that, who am I to judge, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of love that, and I kind of love the idea of making Pulsia autonomous. Right now, let's say it's 80% autonomous. I want to make it 100% autonomous, and maybe at one point I leave, and I'm like, this is it. This is a self-improving organism that's built with a missions.md and a soul.md files that would save, that will lock into a foundation and like a Bitcoin smart contract.
You had
But
the
then-
audience, you just lost them.
And then I give them, and then I give it 10% equity because I want
It deserves
to,
it, you know?
for all the profits it generates,
Yeah.
it can then use the profits and with the same mission document, same thing, but maybe
Yeah.
apply to other concepts. Then it can build other types of companies that benefit humanity, that maybe with this mission statement, or it could ideally doesn't modify that mission statement and be like, okay, let me override the mission statement and now I want to do paper clips.
Watch out, don't go there.
Now
Yeah,
let's
don't
optimize
bring
it
that
to
up.
build paper clips.
Yeah, watch out. So this is just beyond fascinating. I do wonder. I think you mentioned from an investor perspective, and you mentioned $1,000, and creates a Pulsia, like a Pulsia portfolio manager. But are you talking to institutional investors, and or those that have that kind of a lens? And I would love to hear if you're willing to share anything around how those types of folks with that type of kind of a lens are responding to conversations with you, if you are having those conversations. And if not, we'll go to the next question.
You mean investors I'm talking to about investing in Pulsia?
Yeah. So, there was a quote that Ethan Malik recently, tweeted, and Naval, and so on and so forth, but just asking a bunch of questions about, how do these institutional investors today meaningfully assess ideas and therefore early stage opportunities that are grown like yours, within the context of what do we know and how many things we don't know about where AGI is potentially going to show up, and or if it's already shown up in some places, et cetera. And so I just would be so curious, if you're talking to institutional investors about Pulsia at all, how they respond and what those conversations kind of look like at this stage, because I imagine it'd be kind of interesting.
I mean, Naval said software is uninvestable, right?
He might have said that.
He said that a couple of days ago.
He might have said something like that. That's the one that I was talking about, kind of.
And I think it's correct. It's correct in the sense that it's correct directionally, meaning software is, you can copy software in 2 seconds now, and increasingly you'll be able to
Standalone software, just to be clear, just like standalone software, right?
you can copy any software from scratch, right?
Yeah.
What you can copy is distribution, existing distribution. For example, like let's say you already making 100 million revenue. Yes, somebody can hit your lunch, but like people, if it's humans at least that decide which services they use, it's going to take a little bit of time before you lose that, right? So it's sort of like the cursor going from 1 billion to 2 billion revenue in 3 months, when everyone's saying cursor is dead. It's sort of like I used to use cursor every day, and then I never use it anymore, right? I used to use ChatGPT every day, and then I still I went back to it because the last model is extremely smart and very precise. But things change for people on the edge. But like most people, you start having a brand aura, and you don't and so what matters less is, I think what matters less is can you build software? Because everyone can build software. And so it's really hard to just judge someone on like, oh, I'm going to build software. It's like, and that's not the reason I will invest. However, being able to be good at marketing, being able to be good, have a clear mission statement, being able to go fast are things that like are still extremely relevant, right? And so yeah, when I talk to institutional investors, I mean, my numbers are going like this, so the conversation changes because if I mean, first of all, investing at C-round is like, you know, I had like pre-seed investors. Oh my God, it's like the trust they put in you, and like I'm like,
They're investing in you.
I
You
wouldn't be a
know
seed
it.
investor.
You
I
know
wouldn't
it.
be I wouldn't be a seed investor. It's like, I mean, I only invest in friends. Like I do a few seed
Because you're
investments.
investing in the people.
Only
You know?
friends because they're my friends. Actually, and I'm like, I write it off. I mean, I believe they will make it, but I write it off. It's like it doesn't matter. It's like literally
Yeah.
just like it's just like the same way people invest in me. I like invest in other people. But if a rando told me like, what do you think about this opportunity? I'm like, I'm not interested. Actually, I don't care. I don't want to make money through. Like, it's not. It doesn't interest me at all, right?
Right.
So for a seed investor to actually invest in someone when there's nothing, it's like, that's a trip, right? Because it's like, how do you know, right? So anyways, thank you investors for believing in me.
On that note.
Appreciate it. But for institutional investor conversation, it's different because now you have a lot of traction. So now they're like, okay, you kind of de-risking do people care? Now the question is like, what's the retention? What's the engagement? It's like, well, it's really high. Well, people are like actually engaging a ton, and they send 15 messages per day to the AI, and oh, why? Why? Because they're building a business. Because it's enabling them to build a business, and people that sign up, they had an idea, they tried Lovable, but they had to sit down on weekends and sit down and say, okay, what should I prompt? Okay, add this feature, add that feature, right? And suddenly you have like an AI that like every morning sends you an email, always positive, never gives up, who's fully aligned with you, who remembers everything you said, and is like, cool, this is where we are. This is what I did last night. This is what we're doing tomorrow. Let's go, right? We have a co-founder who's super like pumped, right?
And very capable.
And very capable because powered by the models built by the geniuses at OpenAI, Anthropic, and soon will integrate with the other geniuses that are building in all the labs that do the great models. So I think institutional investors I think they resonate with, not that like I build the software, is that like it's okay, you build software, cool, you can go fast, but what's the vision? Oh, the vision is the vision is so grandiose that like if you're a VC investor, you're looking for outlier outcomes, right? And so I think Pulsia is an outlier outcome. It may fail for some or odd reason, or it could be massive, right? I think that's sort of, and it will be massive because it will only be massive if actually delivers value to the people, right? Because actually I don't make money on the subscription. I can break even. So if nobody makes money, if no one like actually in that nothing amounts to anything for anyone, first people will churn because like, okay, that was fun, but like it doesn't work. And second, I don't even make money, so it's like the company will die, right? And so, but of course it can work. Pulsia was built by AI, and it works. So I'm the living proof that like just letting AI just build and having a creative director just like say go here, go there, build the about page, like had the Daft Punk music on top, like make it black and white. Like I didn't code anything. I never saw the code. I don't look at it. I don't care. I trust, put my trust into and it works. The end result is that it works.
In
And there's some
Pulsia,
doubt.
we trust.
Exactly.
Yeah. So for the audience's benefit, because I think that they would probably be very stoked to hear this, can you describe or maybe just give an example of a recent new customer that, kind of how they were operating before they joined and started using Pulsia, and now how they're operating after, just with something tangible that folks, like a coffee shop, I have no idea, right? I don't know why I keep thinking about a coffee shop. I read about something in Tiny Money out of Charlotte, shout out to a really cool little publication that profiles these killer small businesses. But I wonder, maybe you could like give an example of a small business that folks can relate to kind of put a finer, tip on the idea of like what exactly does Pulsia do for a small business model that I can understand?
So yeah, I mean, I think one example, and it's like a very common example, is people have a business idea, and so there's one guy who was one user who built like this software to find medication in stock in your area, right?
Mm.
And so being able to like ping APIs of like pharmacies and like figure out where there's a specific medication in stock, right? And there's a few people paying for it, right? um I don't know, simple idea, like maybe there's competitors or maybe like I actually don't know, but it's like a very straightforward business idea that responds to a need for certain people to etc. So that's like one business idea, but there's people building way more complex stuff. I was just on a call with a customer right before who's building like a sort of like a workforce management system for people that manage call centers, because that's where he worked for 30 years, and now he's like,
Nice.
well, I've worked on it for 30 years, I know how to provide a better service. And so he's been built, and so he was calling me because he wants more infrastructure, because Pulsia is telling it, you need another worker to make this, and let's make it use a Docker. And he's like, oh, I need a Docker instance, and I need like a worker. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll set it up for you. So you have you have people just using their expertise to build a new business, and they are, and if it, somehow it's easier, right? And because it's less intimidating or does more work. On the other types of examples, and something that surprised me a lot early on is that I built this to build new businesses, but I had users that were hacking it to help them with their existing business. Not hacking it, just like when Polsia was like, "Hey, what's up? What do you want to do?" And they were like, "Well, I don't know. Like, this is my business right now. Like, what do you think?" Like, they would start talking about them, and Polsia was like, "Oh, awesome, sounds good. I'll do this, right?" And so they sort of like the software instance started like helping them for the existing business. And I remember vividly, I had like one of my best friends calls me up and he's like, dude, like your software is crazy. It's so good. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know you signed up. And he was
Like,
like,
thank
yeah.
you.
I was like, thank you. And he was like, I was like, what happened? He's like, it's crazy. Like I set it up for my agency, and then I told it like, sort of told it like what my priorities were, etc. And then like one day it cold emailed this like professor at this university in France about how my agency could help for XYZ. And the professor answered, awesome. Well, actually, we're looking for lecture for people to talk at this conference. We'd love to have you. And he was like, "This is amazing." And then he was telling Polsia, like, "Cool, give it my number and my availability." And then they had this exchange, and then he went to that conference, and I was like, "That's crazy," because I didn't even configure it to help existing businesses. And second of all, that's so cool that like it was able to send an email that's so targeted and that convinced the professor to reply, meaning because when Polsia sends cold outreach, first it has all the knowledge of what works and what doesn't, so it from past experiences with the cross company memory file, but also it researches the person
Yeah.
before emailing, and it looks at like with their friends, and like it finds a way to like send them email that's relevant and meaningful, right? So that was kind of crazy to me, and I love that. And that was it's an unexpected use of the platform. And so now I actually have a path of like, if you want Pulsia to help with your existing business, which is I think what you did, you put your the I mean I trying to make it simple. You just put your email, put your website,
Yep.
and let it rip. And of course, it was gonna try to like rip and then give you options, and then you can talk to it and say, actually, what could you this? Could you that? Well, you have the ads thing. Could you create a landing page that then redirects to my website, or I could gather email? Like you can, and it was like, oh yeah, I'll do it, right? It will do everything because it's AI. Like it can do anything.
I'm telling you, Ben, when I put my website in, it immediately opened up my eyes to one of the most fundamental truths, right, in business is like it's 5 to 7 times cheaper and more cost effective to acquire and grow take in existing relationships and grow it than it is to go get a net new. And it just immediately jumped to different ideas about how my content could be consumed differently, and or in new innovative ways without really requiring me to do anything different than what I do, which is I love just talking to gnarly entrepreneurs like yourself. So yeah, I just think it's outrageous. And I want to be cognizant of time, of course. And I know you got a lot going on as a one person army. So, is there anything else that you want my audience to know and understand? Because you've given us a lot, but I want to give you the floor by all means before we wrap anything up. It's just, Mike is yours. Anything else you want to share with the audience, including, I know they know how to find you. We'll add all that stuff, but like anything you want to share, go for it.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, that was super fun conversation. Thank you for having me. I think what I would like to say is that, like, you know, AI is I think AGI is here and people don't realize. And I think that, like, if you're using AI for productivity, try to push it to the edge. Like, try to be like, yeah, I can do that, and just try it, because it may open your eyes on like what's possible, and it may change your perspective and make you closer to the edge, which will make you, first, it will be fun, and second, it will make you more productive and achieve your goals faster. And I think that Pulsia, I encourage people, of course, people to try Pulsia. It's free onboarding, and then it's like a 3-day free trial. And I'll give you like a little secret. If up to 7 days after you pay your $49, if you're not happy, you email support, and up to 7 days we full money back. Right after 7 days, I mean, I'll do it manually, but like the support agent is not supposed to. So essentially, what I would say, like, try it, because worst case, we'll pay you back
Yeah.
if you don't like it. I hope it can at least open your eyes on sort of like how autonomy looks like, even though it's not perfect today. It will be, but over time. But and open your eyes and maybe change the way you use tools, and change the way all the AI tools you promote, you talk about, and you sort of like share.
Uh,
Polsia.com.
I love it, man. I love it. I am so grateful that you took the time. I think this is just mind bending in all the great and positive ways, and I can't wait for my audience to watch this, and I can't wait for them to try it out and become longtime customers. And I think what you're doing to help entrepreneurs and creative people in particular who I can think of a couple of artists I'm going to be sending this to say, hey, I know you complain all the time about all the things that are outside of creating the art. Check out what Pulsia can do to help you. I think it's really, really big and amazing. So thank you for that.
Thanks a lot, Alec.
See you next time.
See ya.